Okay.
Connected to this,
Yeah.
sort of, I mean, tangentially in a way.
All right.
I am, I am concerned about
more concern. Yes.
about the issues.
Yes.
I am interested in the issues
Yes.
raised by the recent news that our present president is going to have to raise over $1 billion to get reelected. Now, I'm not saying that I think he should be or should not be or whatever. It's just the point that thinking that anybody has to raise $1 billion in this country to get to be president raises the issue of how many ways is he going to have to subdivide his soul and sell it off to get that kind of money? And what are we going to do as a nation with a system like this that seems to be getting heavier? I know that you have said, and I, in some ways, I can begin to see the dissolution of all of this, but yet it seems to be getting heavier at the same time.
You are your government. Change it. It's your planet, your government. Change it. Change yourself.
Okay,
and shift to a reality through your actions that represent the change you've made within yourself. Shift to a reality that contains the idea that is more representative of what you prefer.
All right.
Instead of thinking there's only one reality, we're stuck with it, and that's all we've got.
Well, there are so many people who want to change, but there seems to be a confusion about what to do. When we look
Stop. May I assist you?
Can I just
May
mention
I
one thing?
assist you?
Yes, okay.
Stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking and just change in the way you prefer to, and let the reality reflect to you what is representative of that change. Stop focusing on what you think everyone else needs to do. Just focus on yourself. Just change yourself in the way that you prefer to. Behave the way that you prefer to. Let everything take care of itself. Let everyone else make their own decisions about what realities they wish to change to. The ones that wish to think like you will join you. The ones that don't will be somewhere else, and you can't do anything about changing their minds anyway. Let them have their reality. It won't necessarily be yours.
All right, well,
Yes.
I'd like you to clarify, please. What is the problem or the tremendous difference that seems to separate us to a certain extent from the people, say, in France or in Germany or even in England, who hit the streets by the hundreds of thousands to demonstrate against their governments? The governments seem to pay attention. As Michael Moore said in his most recent film, I believe, recently, that in France, for example, the people are afraid of their government. In the United States, we're afraid of our government. Why is this? What is wrong with this picture?
Because you have created a belief system wherein you wanted to give your power to someone else to run your lives.
Why?
So that's what you've got. Because you're afraid of your own power. Because you have disconnected yourself from your own power to the point where you don't believe you have any.
But why should we be any more disconnected than the French, for example? I don't get it.
Because different cultures have different belief systems about how they experience their relationship to themselves and their connection to spirit. You're having a number of different experiments on your planet about different ways to experience your relationship to your belief systems and to your reality. So of course there will be different experiences in different cultures by definition. Decide in your own culture whether you wish your culture to continue to be experienced that way, or whether you wish to change yourself and be an example of the kind of change that can occur, so that other people can also see in you, by example, other options that they can then also choose. If you are already aware that there can be another option, then start behaving as if there is. Then you will be in a reality state, in a vibrational state, that can function as an example for others that there are other options. And if they gravitate to it, then bit by bit, more and more of you will take back your power, and you will institute the kind of changes that are representative of the reality and the nation and the culture you prefer. But you have given your power over to people and told them to run your lives. So why berate them when they're doing such a good job of doing what you told them to do? Tell them to do something different. Tell other people then to take their place who will do different things. Empower people. The way you have structured your culture is based on fear. So your government is based on the same. That shouldn't surprise you. So develop a culture of joy. Develop a culture of self-empowerment. And then you will find you will not really need anyone to tell you what to do.
Does this culture of fear come primarily from the fact that most of our ancestors who came here were dispossessed people feeling the brunt of famines and social injustice and so forth? So they had a lot of fear when they came here.
That has something to do with it in a sense, but that's not really the beginning of it. Understand that disempowerment has existed in your culture and your planet for thousands upon thousands of years. This idea of self-disempowerment has been a theme of exploration for generations and eons. But you're arriving at the end of that exploration. That's why you're even considering that there can be something different. But the point is if you know there can be something different, then exercise the idea of your self-empowerment by being an example of the difference. Otherwise, you're just talking.
Do you see a significant shift happening in this country within the next few years?
If you make it. But again, please, you're missing the point. All those realities already exist. It's not a significant shift in your country. It's do we see a significant shift in certain individuals who will take themselves to another parallel Earth reality that is already different? That we do see. But we will be talking to that Earth. We won't be talking to the other one. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's not that we have to see a change in that Earth. It doesn't matter whether that Earth changes. It only matters whether individuals change themselves and shift to another Earth that is already representative of the change you're talking about. Already representative of that experience. Doesn't matter if a change occurs in any particular reality, because every reality is distinct for what definition it serves, what experience it has been designed to serve. So that reality will never change. Never. It's its own reality by definition. A reality doesn't change. Your experience of reality changes when you shift to another reality more representative of the experience that is your vibration. So it does no good to say, do we see a change in the reality? We see changes in your experience of reality if you choose to change. And if most of you didn't choose to change, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So this conversation is an indication that many of you say you prefer to change and that many of you do make those changes. Or again, this conversation wouldn't be happening. The conversation is proof itself that you're making these changes. So yes, but we want you to understand the mechanism, and that will suffice. Thank you.
Can I just ask?
That will suffice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Let
you,
it sink in.
A lot of us are, we spend a lot of time focusing on the powerful few people who run this planet and keep things for themselves, like the T3RB, and work to keep the rest of us slaving away, distracted, dumbed down, blocked from our awareness of, our true power, our true nature. We call the Illuminati, the world order, the dark cabal, the elite, etc.
Yeah.
What is our best defense against them?
One thing really that people like that are actually able to control is information. And they don't actually have as much power as you might think. But what they've done is they have very cleverly used fear in people and the choice to focus on fear-based conspiracies in people to make it appear as if they actually have more power than they do. and therefore they control the information that makes them seem so powerful that there's nothing we can do about it. The big secret is they're not as powerful as you think, but they're using every means in their disposal to control information to make themselves seem more powerful than they are. And when people fall into the fear-based conspiracy theories too far, they're actually one of the best assets that those people have, because those people are making them seem more powerful than they are by talking about how afraid they are of what these people are capable of doing, and they don't actually have that kind of power. That's the illusion.
So what do we do?
We focus on the things that are representative of what we prefer. We focus on systems that we prefer. We create the systems that we prefer to replace the systems that we don't. It's not about fighting against those people who are operating on a negative wavelength. It's about understanding that they're operating out of fear, they're operating out of a perspective of lack, that there isn't enough to go around, and we know that's not true. But we have to behave as if we know that's not true. We can't play their game of fear. We can't play their game of there isn't enough. We have to start creating the systems that demonstrate that there is enough. We have to start making the changes politically, socially, economically, whatever area of our lives we want to, that demonstrate what we believe to be true, that there is enough for everyone, that everyone has the ability to be self-empowered, that there will not be anarchy just because people are being allowed to be the individuals they truly are. And we have to start really redefining and reinventing ourselves in a much more positive light. And if we start really taking that to heart and start putting that out there more and more strongly, which is happening slowly, they will simply not be able to survive in that light. Now, eventually, what's also happening is because, again, we're all shifting to different parallel realities billions of times a second. It's not even that we're changing the world when we change, when we think about changing them or changing something in the world. We're not actually changing the world we were in. We're shifting to a new parallel Earth that is simply more representative of the change we've made in ourselves. And eventually, the more we do that, we'll simply occupy parallel versions of Earth that simply don't contain people of an incompatible vibration. And eventually we will no longer experience them. But the longer we choose to succumb to the fear-based ideas that they can control us, the longer we keep shifting into parallel versions of Earth that are simply reflective of the idea that they control everything. So we can shift away from that, but we have to create and generate that state of being for ourselves first, and offer them an opportunity to also understand that they don't have to be fear-based, that there is enough for everyone, and that it's a world that can be created with everyone in it that supports the total whole, and it's not just about the few getting what they need because there's not enough for anyone else. That's simply not a definition of a world that works. So we have to generate and live by the definition of a world that does work, and that will make all the difference.
So we want to choose a world where they're no longer in power over us, where people aren't in power over people, where they no longer mar our skies with chemtrails, they no longer feed us lies through the media, hide truths that belong to all of us. Many of us, we believe that we've been actively choosing that world.
Yeah, but the thing of it is most people really don't. No. The only reason that people like that exist is because we're giving them our power. You are your government, and if you are afraid of taking power yourself, and you're afraid of looking within yourself and facing even some of the things that you've compartmentalized in your own consciousness, then you're going to be giving your power away to someone who says they're going to do it for you. And the more you do that, well, this is what you wind up with. You wind up with people who are more than happy to run your life for you. But when you really truly start taking your power back, it makes all the difference in the world. But, they're going to fight against that because we've put them in the position of telling them that we believe we need them to take care of us. But once we start really understanding what it means to be self-responsible, and once we explain and start acting like and giving examples of the reality that there is enough for everyone and start creating systems that reflect that, then they will see that they have no place in that world, and they will either have to choose to change or they will simply have to choose to go away. So it's really up to us, again, to direct whatever our experience of that is. Because if we really truly understand that each of us is our own reality, then there is no one who can do anything to us. We're doing it to ourselves by simply agreeing with what it is they're offering us. So we have to take responsibility back for experiencing whatever it is we're experiencing, because the only way we can experience it is to create it in our own reality.
I walk out the house in the morning, and I look at the sky, and I see a plane laying down a fresh chemtrail across the sky that I didn't want to see.
Yes.
And I want to see it stop. In that moment.
Okay. Well, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. Why do you need to see it stop?
Oh, well, I guess I would say that I need to see it stop because it's, dumping toxins on my planet that is killing plants and trees and affecting me.
Okay, and that's not a reality that you prefer, correct?
Oh, definitely correct.
Okay, but it's not about judging that reality as being less than the reality you prefer. Otherwise, that's what anchors you to that reality. Because when consciousness expands, the expansion of consciousness is not about excluding things, it's about including things. So you can come from a neutral position of saying, that is something I do not prefer. At the same time, that doesn't mean that we have to devalue it and dismiss it and negatively judge it, because if we negatively judge it as being less valuable than what it is we prefer, we're actually staying in that negative energy. So it's all about looking at that and going, okay, I can objectively see that there are people that are in this reality that are choosing those things. I prefer not to. So the first step is to understand that since that is not the world I know I prefer, step number one is I know that no matter what it is I see other people doing, it doesn't affect me. It does not affect my world negatively. In fact, the only thing that will happen from anything I see anyone else doing is I'm going to get a positive benefit out of it. Now, the positive benefit might be bringing it to other people's attention that it's not necessarily beneficial for them either, and helping them understand how they may be able to take actions to make certain kinds of changes within themselves to not do those kinds of things. But nevertheless, it's not about falling under the fear that there is a negative effect in your reality, because there is no physical reality other than your definition of it. So when you define something in your reality as negative, you're only going to be able to get a negative effect from it. But if you define it as positive for you, even if you can objectively observe that someone else may be creating it for a negative reason, then you stay in your power, you're not negatively affected, and that gives you the power to go do something positive about that without feeling like you are a victim of it.
It is a conundrum for people who want to see those things change, and we concentrate on an outcome that we want that doesn't include those things, and we still continue to see these things.
Right, but you see, this is exactly what I was talking about in terms of the idea of controlling information, because when a populace is taught to react to those things in a fear-based way, they are doing exactly what those people want them to do. Because when you react to something in a fear-based way, it disempowers you from doing anything about it.
Shivai Bashar.
And you, Shivai.
Greetings, old friend. During our last interaction, My question to you was about our government, and you
Yes,
said
we talked
that
about
we
the idea of the
are
difference
our
between
government.
a republic and a democracy. Yes, yes, yes.
No, but you said we are.
You
our
are
government.
our- you
Become
are.
our government.
You are your
Well,
government.
Our government appears to be. My question is in several
Yes,
parts.
yes.
Having to do with the Illuminati bankers and the fact that it appears very clear
Yes.
at this point, with no doubt, that there are forces that have seized control that are out to kill large numbers of people.
Stop. One of the other things in terms of information that will no longer be coming through this terminal will be the support of fearful theories.
It's not a theory.
Stop. What we are saying is, we understand that people like you're describing exist. We understand that people on your planet have those kinds of intentions. But the point we made is that you all put them there. So if you don't want them there, remove them. Empower yourselves to empower them to be true people and not people acting out of fear. And remember, again, there is no just one world. You are constantly shifting to different parallel realities. So whatever vibrational state you choose to be in is going to ultimately be the parallel Earth you will experience. If you keep focusing on the idea of those who are trying to control and focusing on the ideas of fear, that will be the kind of world you will experience. But at the very same time, the people that focus on the idea of self-empowerment will ultimately, at the same time, experience another parallel Earth where no such people exist.
Well, isn't everybody in this room experiencing the same reality at this
No,
time?
that's the point that you're missing. They're not. You are experiencing similar realities by agreement, but they're actually not the same.
So, is there people in this room that don't have any clue and won't be affected at all by the FEMA camps, the 78 million coffins that our government has already ordered?
There are
for
those
American
that will be
citizens?
affected by it because they choose to live in fear. There are those that will never see it because they don't. It's that literal.
Can you share with us if the population of the planet is going to be significantly reduced?
Which
this
planet?
Year? Earth.
Which Earth?
This current reality. This
You're
current
missing the
collective.
point. You are shifting from parallel reality to parallel reality billions of times per second. Decide what reality you prefer. Some Earths will be depopulated. Some won't. Any variation of this idea that you can imagine is real. Shift to the one you prefer. They're all real. Shift to the one you prefer. Period. You understand? They're all real.
Yes
Shift to
and
the
no.
one you prefer.
Yes and no. I understand what you're saying about
No, you
reality
obviously don't.
creation. You're right. I mean, I don't, because I wish I knew how to shift to a world where
You are
everything was
shifting.
hunky-dory,
You are
know?
always shifting. The way you shift to the world you prefer with the energy you prefer is to be that energy yourself first and stop buying into the ideas of fear.
But I try and look at reality of the world around me and interpret it.
You are forgetting what we talked about in the sense that every single thing is fundamentally neutral and has no built-in meaning. It doesn't matter how it looks. Remember, the measure of the fact that you have changed is not based on whether the outside changes. It's based on whether your response to the outside changes, regardless if it looks the same. That's how you know you will not be affected by anything you don't prefer to be affected by. Because that's the energy state you've created, and it doesn't matter how it looks, and it doesn't matter what anyone else's intention is toward you. You cannot be affected by someone's intention until you believe you can be or choose to be.
So are there people in this reality right now that, just looking back to the past, were not affected and didn't have a negative result from all the actions that have been taken so far?
Yes. Wrap your mind around it. Thank you.
Thank you.